Hey friends, welcome to my channel Photographic Memory. Today's video is about the clinical relevance of pterygomandibular space and the clinical features and management of pterygomandibular space infections. I had talked about the boundaries and the contents and neighboring spaces of pterygomandibular space in my previous video. I'll just put the link in the description box below. Kindly refer to it. So, why is pterygomandibular space important for study? First thing is that it is a site for inferior alveolar nerve block injections. It is an important site where we inject the local anesthetic doses. So if there is an complication which occurs, that is, it can be an injury to the facial nerve which will eventually cause transient facial palsy, or it can be a fracture of the needle, or it can be a fracture of the needle at the hub area or at the middle portion where we bend the needle. The needle may be left in the pterygomandibular space, so we need to open that space in order to avulse that needle out. Okay, even there are various post complications of inferior alveolar nerve block injections. So because of this reason, the study of pterygomandibular space, its boundaries and contents, everything is important. Secondly, it can be due to pterygomandibular space infections. Now, I'll be talking in detail about its clinical features and even the management. So, how does a pterygomandibular space infection occurs? It can either occur from an migration of pathogenic microorganism through needles, like while injecting the needle, or secondly, it can occur from odontogenic infections from the second and third molar. So, odontogenic infections can be of various types, such as it can occur because of pericoronitis, or it can occur because of periapicular infections or periodontal infections. Like, there are various types. Then third is the displacement of the tooth during exodontia. So if we apply excessive apical pressure during removal of the tooth from the socket, we may unknowingly displace the tooth into the socket. There are many cases where the tooth has been lodged into the pterygomandibular space. The most common tooth is the third molar, mandibular third molar. And the fourth and the final clinical relevance, that is reason, is the mandibular fractures. So this mandibular fracture may eventually propagate the infection into the pterygomandibular space. Now let's study the pterygomandibular space infection. Now the clinical features of pterygomandibular space infections are as follows. The patient may have decreased amount of mouth opening, which in clinical terms we call it as trismus. Second point is the most important point, that is, there will be no external visible facial swelling present, so you cannot clinically see a swelling or any redness on the face. Third one is intraoral swelling, which will be visible as you tell the patient to open his mouth. Fourth one is the swelling along the anterior tonsillar pillar. Now, what is anterior tonsillar pillar? Now, in this diagram, you can see this is the anterior tonsillar pillar. This one at the posterior part is the posterior tonsillar pillar, and between these two we have the tonsils present. So there will be redness and even swelling of the anterior tonsillar pillar over the affected area. Even there will be deviation of uvula on the unaffected side. And the next point is, because of this swelling over the tonsillar pillar, there will be compressed passage of airway, which may eventually cause air hunger. And the last clinical feature of pterygomandibular space. Now let's go to the treatment of pterygomandibular space infection. In the treatment of pterygomandibular space infection, the first and the most important thing is anesthesia. Now, as the patient cannot open his mouth widely, there is lesser chance of giving an intraoral local anesthetic. So we recommend with general anesthesia, orals and local anesthesia to a mandibular nerve, but extraorally. The next step is the incision. So the incision can be made in two ways. Either it can be made on the medial aspect to the ramus of the mandible, or secondly you can give an incision along the pterygomandibular raphe. Then after you give the incision, you open the abscess cavity, you insert an hemostat, and using this hemostat you do blunt dissection. So what is blunt dissection? Blunt dissection is basically you insert a closed hemostat into the open abscess cavity and then you open the hemostat inside, and by this technique you break the pus locules inside the open abscess cavity. So by breaking the pus locules, you discharge the pus outside the cavity, and then you close the hemostat and remove the hemostat from the cavity. This is the Hilton's method of incision and drainage. So after dependent drainage, we then insert a rubber drain through the open abscess cavity and we pack it. Then the sixth step is the administration of antibiotics, that is either penicillin, clindamycin or erythromycin. According to the age, give the dosage. Seventh one is the supportive therapy. We recommend the patient to increase his fluid intake, and secondly we check for the nutritional intake. And the last one is the maintenance therapy, where we recall the patient in every 3 weeks for follow-up. So this was all about pterygomandibular space infection, its clinical features and management. I'll put the link in the description box below for boundaries of pterygomandibular space infection and its contents and neighboring spaces. Put in the comment section below what all videos you want to watch and on what topics. I'm open with all suggestions. If you like this video, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel Photographic Memory. I'll come up with more videos. Till then, take care.